Necron Tomb Blade time, and today I'm going to show you how to convert a Tomb Blade from this to this. And it's coming right up.
Necrons!
Nick speaking, and welcome to this video. And if you're new to the channel and you want to keep up to date with the Wonders of Warhammer 40k, then please subscribe and hit the bell button to turn on all notifications so you don't miss an upload. Okay, so today I'm going to show you how to convert a Necron Tomb Blade. Now I know a fair few people like the original model, however personally I'm not a huge fan. In actual fact, it made it into my top 5 ugliest Necron models. Now if you've already built your Tomb Blades and you're thinking this tutorial is no good for you, then stay tuned, because at the end of the video I'm going to show you how to convert a model that's already built. Now whilst the whole of this model isn't necessarily my favourite, the thing that really annoys me, that really bugs me, is the big orb right in the warrior's face. To me it just doesn't make sense. Now I did give GW a chance with this, and I read the fluff for Tomb Blades just to see if the fluff would sort of help me work out what this big orb is about. So it seems the warrior isn't actually piloting the Tomb Blade. The Tomb Blade has built-in attack patterns based on hyperfractal equations. So the warrior only has the ability to change the attack patterns. Now the warrior doesn't seem to be even shooting the guns of the Tomb Blade, so I have absolutely no idea why he's got this big orb in front of him. If, for example, this orb had, say, a big map, it had sensors, he could see behind him, you know, something that would make sense, then fine. But in actual fact, it doesn't make sense at all that he's got this big orb here. And as I said, I don't like it. So I'm going to remove it, and I'm going to convert the Tomb Blade, and I'm going to show you how I do it. Now just out of reference, I'm only going to convert the warrior and orb section in this video, and the reason for that is I'm actually going to magnetise these models, and I'm going to make a tutorial on that, and I want that tutorial to be how to magnetise a Tomb Blade from the standard build rather than from a highly converted model. So that's why I'm only converting just the orb section. Right, let's get on with the tutorial. Okay, so here is this section of the Tomb Blade where we have the orb on. Of course I haven't built the warrior that's inside yet, but this section here is what we need to remove. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my little cutters, and I'm literally going to cut them off at the first recessed section of that wire. So I'm just going to go in with the cutters. I'm literally just going to snip that off like so. Now this is going to look a little bit messy, so what we're going to do is get our knife and effectively just clean up that little section so that it's nice and flat like so. Now to finish this off, there's two options. One option is to drill a little hole into that flat section. However, I find that Necrons don't really have holes in their sort of wires as such, so I'm going to do something else to that flat section, but we'll do that in a minute, because first of all we need to sort out the warrior that's actually sitting inside. Okay, so here is a Tomb Blade built as per the instructions, with the orb going into the head. Now the head that the kit comes with has a little hole for that orb to sit into, and to be fair, once you remove this orb you can't really use the head, it's just going to look a bit odd. So you are going to need some other heads. Now I've had a look in my bits box, I have quite a number of these little immortal heads. I think these are going to work really well as replacements for these heads here. I know it's supposed to be a warrior, but it's a warrior on a Tomb Blade, so he can be slightly different. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to distinguish my units by changing the different heads. So I've got the immortal head here, and on my second unit I'll probably have the other head which comes with this kit with a little orb for an eye. So I can distinguish the two units. Now, of course, if you don't have any of these heads, I'd suggest you just have a look on eBay or on a Bits website like Bits Box. They're usually quite cheap, just a few pound. So that's the head. Now, the thing to bear in mind here, of course, is that the body has a little wire which is connected into the head. However, when this little stem is attached and it's sitting in its normal position, the head, if we put it on using that stem at the back, is going to be looking downwards, which is fine for this model because of course he's using the orb. However, this warrior, which we're going to be converting, is going to be using his eyes to see. So we're going to have to cut off the little back section for this head so that we can tilt the new head backwards. So let's do that. Okay, so this is the torso, the front and back, which I've already glued together. And as you can see, you've got the little spine section there just at the back. So what we're going to do is just clip that little spine section off using the pliers. And then we are going to just remove the little excess section of plastic. So we're just going to make that nice and flat, like so. Now you could leave it like this, or you could tidy it up a little bit more, give it a bit more detail by either drilling a hole in that section, or, as I'm going to be doing, is adding an extra piece of detail there with some green stuff. Okay, so for this section we're going to use some green stuff and a little silicone tool. So the green stuff is effectively an epoxy. If you've never heard of green stuff, I've got a video covering all the tips and tricks for using it, which I'll link you up in the description below, and in there it talks about these. These are basically silicone brushes, and the idea is that they don't stick to the green stuff. If you're using metal, it tends to stick quite easily. So what we want to do is we want to get ourselves some very small tiny balls of green stuff. You do actually want to make them into balls rather than elongated or anything. We're looking for a small tiny ball of green stuff. Just roll that into a ball, put that onto the desk. Okay, so what we're going to do is take our silicone tool. We're going to try to get that ball of green stuff in the middle of that section there. So I'm just going to wet the silicone brush, and I'm going to try and pick that bit of green stuff up. It can be a bit tricky. Okay, there we go. I'm going to place that right onto the end, like so, and then I'm going to try to centralise it. And then, once I've got it into the centre, wherever it's gone, there it is. Let's try that again. As I said, it can be a bit tricky, a little bit of patience. Right, there you go. So I've got it into the centre. I'm now going to use this flat section of this tool, and I'm just going to push it down onto the piece of plastic, and then using the little flat edge, I'm just going to tidy that up. We're looking basically to add a little piece in the middle of this plastic, but rather than the option of drilling the hole out, which obviously is probably a slightly easier option, but I think this looks more Necron-ish. There we go. We now have a protruding section at the base of that spine. I'm going to repeat that for the actual back of the torso spine here, which we cut off. So we're going to pick this one up, and we're just going to place it just at the back there, again in a centralised position, like so. If I can get hold of it, there we go. I said just a little bit of patience, but you'll get there. So that's in the central position, so now I'm just going to push that down, like so. There we go, and then I'm just going to use the flat edge of the tool just to tidy the edges up a little bit, like so, and then flatten it down a little bit more. There we go. So now we've got some details on both of those sections. Okay, there you go. That's all the green stuff all dried, and that is looking pretty cool. I am happy with that. Right, the next stage is to basically glue on the head onto the neck. Now, one reason why we took that tube away was so that we could angle the head slightly backwards, because when it's sitting in the cockpit, is going to be sitting forward. So we want this head just tilting upwards. And of course now we have the freedom to glue this head on angled left or right, or we could go up or down as well. So each model will have a little bit of individuality, which is pretty cool. Now what you could do if you wanted to help with the angle of the heads, is you could just cut out like a little concave section, or maybe if you've got a round file, just file out a little concave. However, you can just glue this straight on to the body at an angle and it will still look pretty cool. Now we're going to use plastic glue for this, so let's put some plastic glue on. Now when you're using plastic glue, what you want to do is put the glue onto the plastic and then just let it melt a little bit. I'm going to add some to the base of the skull as well, like so, and then just give that a little time to bond as the lid. Here we go. Make sure you put your lid on, otherwise the pot will all glue up. So just give that a few seconds and then we'll be ready to glue the head on. Right, okay, here we go. Head is going on, and like I said, I just want this one tilting slightly forward, and I'm going to get him looking dead ahead like that. Right, okay, so that looks pretty cool, so I'm going to leave that to dry. Okay, there you go, that's all dried, and I've just loosely placed the warrior into position, and that's the conversion done. I think that looks super cool, a lot better than the original. Right, now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Nick, that looks really cool, but I've already built my Tomb Blades. Or you're thinking, oh, I wish I'd done that to my Tomb Blades, but it's too late now. Well, it's not. So now we're going to have a look at how to convert a Tomb Blade that's already built. Okay, so here is our Tomb Blade. So let's imagine you've purchased it like this off eBay or something, and it's got the old original design which we want to convert up. So we're going to start off, first of all, cutting off that ball on that top spine section. Again, with the little cutters, just gently cut that off. This one's come off from the head. Now it depends how well someone's glued it, will depend on how secure that head is in position. What you need to do before you try to take the head off is make some little cuts just on the top of the neck spine section there at the front, and then there's two, one each side. Of course you need to be careful when using a sharp knife, so make sure you don't cut your fingers. We're just looking to gently push into that piece of plastic where that little spine is, so that when the head does come off, it doesn't take those little spine sections off. So one on one side and then one on the other. Now I've already done one of these to one of the old Tomb Blades that I had, and in doing so the warrior came out, but it just wasn't glued that well. So that is that done. I'm also going to cut the spine at the back of the neck. There we go, and neck, there we go, the head is basically just come out. So nice and simple. We're going to also cut off that little back section of the spine, like so. And we're going to go in there and just gently flatten that section off with our knife. Now this warrior hasn't come out, but that's fine, so just going to flatten that. And then what we can do is put some green stuff on the back of that spine, and then of course we're going to flatten this section, and then we're going to add the green stuff to that section, and then we can put the new head back on. Okay, so I've actually got 3 Tomb Blades here that I'm converting, and I did manage to get all 3 of the warriors out. I just gently prized them out. So I've now of course done all of the green stuff, and that's fully dried and looking pretty cool. So all we've got to do now is put the head into the position. Now once again, just like on the other bikes, you are able just to dig out a little bit of plastic. I would suggest in a concaved manner, so that when the head sits in, it sits in nice and flush. And then it's just a case of gluing the head into position. Okay, so I've just done some work on this one here. So what I did, I actually had to cut on the inside of the pipes and just make a little concaved section, so when the head sits on, those pipes actually look as if they're coming out of the neck. So I've done all that. Like I said, just take your time, tiny piece of plastic removed at a time rather than taking a big chunk out. And then I'm going to put some glue onto here, give that a minute to bond, a little bit on the back of the head, put the lid on. Okay, so let's get this head into position. Like so. Again, we want it angled slightly up because of the way that our driver's going to be sitting. And there he is. And of course, if you find the neck pieces don't quite match up, you could always go in with a little bit of green stuff and just fill in the gaps. Okay, there you go, there he is, back on his bike and looking super cool. I am really liking these guys now, they are a lot better, but let me know what you think in the comments box below. Now these models here are fully magnetised with both the weapon options and the war gear options, and I've made a tutorial video which will be up very soon on the channel. Plus I've got a video coming up on building the trickiest part of a tomb blade. I'm going to link you up to those two videos there when they're available. For now though, here are some videos that I think you will enjoy. And if you're not subscribed yet, start now and hit the Idic Beer icon. Beam me up!